Hi, everyone.
Greetings, everyone. Dr. Annette West, Publishing Pusher here. Thanks for joining me in the Jet Name Publishing, talking all things books. Yes, the operative words, all things. I'm excited you're here. You listen in, share your thoughts. You don't have to be live on the screen to be able to talk. And I want you to know your success is my business. I'm here to assist you, support, empower, inspire as we pull out those thoughts to get these books accomplished. Thanks again for joining me.
Hi, everyone. I had to travel this morning. It was supposed to be yesterday, but it's this morning. And I didn't want to miss coming in on today to share a little bit with you. Many of you will be catching this later, which is just fine. So I wanted to just talk a little bit today about engaging in continuous learning. So I want to remind everyone that I am Dr. Annette West, and I am the Publishing Pusher. And my goal is to empower you, so that you are able to pull the thoughts in your mind out so that you can create the product that you want. So I want to talk a little bit today. Hi, Kimberly. I want to talk a little bit today about how to engage in continuous learning. As an educator, I can tell you that it takes consistency. It takes us continually seeking information, continually gaining new perspective so that we can have the tools that we need so that when we are creating these products, we have the insights that we hopefully have gained. So when I talk about engaging in continuous learning, first of all, once we learn something, it doesn't mean that there's not more that we can learn. I believe that learning is continuous. It's a continual cycle, and it helps us to ever evolve. So we must continue to apply ourselves to get more insight into us that we will have as we work on our different projects. So when I talk about continuous learning, are we following different reputable publishing blogs and reading what they're saying? Are we reading books on publishing, on writing, on marketing, on self-publishing? I appreciate those that do come into this space because I will share what I have. But there are a few blogs that you might want to consider. One is Jane Friedman blog on writing and publishing. One is the Creative Pen, and one is the Reedsy blog. Now, I'm connected to all, but the main one that I follow is the Creative Pen. The Creative Pen is Joanna Penn is her name, and she is in the UK. And I've been following her for several years. I have some books from her. I have some books on publishing from her, and they are really good resources. So you can go and pull up the Creative Pen. You can follow Joanna. You can listen to her podcast. She has a podcast also, and she has great content on her podcast. I never want you to think that you just need to listen to one resource. It's good to hear what other people are saying. I don't know if any of you are in my publishing group on Facebook, but Miss Anna sent me a resource, and she said, this guy, even though he's not talking the Bible, he's talking about publishing, self-publishing, and a lot of what you are saying, he is saying. And so I told her to go ahead and put it in the group, because it's good to see that there is reiteration among different people talking on the subject of publishing and self-publishing. So follow a blog, read some content. Like I said, my main follower is the Creative Pen. That is also the name of her podcast, I believe. And her name is Joanna Penn. And she has so many books, it's ridiculous. And I think I have about 4 of her books. So we can read industry blogs and books. Another thing that we can do is attend workshops and conferences. We should have in our budget to go to at least 1 or 2 places a year, and to get other insight about what we're doing in the publishing world and things that we can do. Why? Because we don't know it all. And there's always something more. So we can participate in workshops, we can go to webinars, conferences, Writer's Digest. Writer's Digest conference is one. There's also a self-publishing conference that's available, but there are so many different learning opportunities out here that if we want to write a book and we want to do it right, there's no reason that we can't do it right. The third thing that I would say is take online courses. You can enroll in platforms like Coursera, Udemy, or Skillshare. Now, I've taken quite a few from Udemy, very inexpensive. I've taken editing through them. I've taken self-publishing through them. This was after I was already doing all of this stuff. I was taking it through them. Well, I just wanted the piece of paper to say that I finished this particular thing because it just looked good on my thing. But it's always good, like I said, to get more insight. So we could take a course on creative writing, on digital marketing, maybe on book design. All of those things would be beneficial to the process. The fourth thing that you can do is you can join writing groups and forums. This would be considered a writing forum. Engage with writing communities. You can go to, if you want to go to maybe one where you can actually share your content out and they give you feedback on it. You could go to Goodreads. You can go to, I think it's Scribophile, and you can also do Reddit. There's other ones out there. And they offer a space for you to exchange ideas, which you can do here as well. But it's good to, find other platforms as well. You can receive feedback, and you can also learn from other writers. The fifth thing you can do is subscribe to newsletters. A lot of these publishing entities have their own newsletters. You never know what nuggets. Now, I'll tell you one thing, I have unsubscribed this week from quite a few of them, because if I find something that's interesting with them, but then I realize that I haven't been opening up a lot of the content, then I just unsubscribe. I can always pull it back up and subscribe at another time. But it's very easy for all of this content to overload our emails very, very easily if we are not careful. So we can sign up for industry experts, from the industry experts, to receive their newsletters, their updates, trends, tips, and also opportunities for self-publishing. A lot of people who came into my Clubhouse space when I was doing the publishing, they were able to get into writing, something that they hadn't been doing, by me offering, opportunities for people to be a part of collaborations, to get their feet wet, as they say, with the first book being a part of a group of writers. So there are many opportunities out here. We just have to take the time, and we have to tap into them. And so I'll reiterate that list, as I was talking about how to engage in continuous learning. And the 5 things that I mentioned was taking the time to read industry blogs and books. And I recommended the Creative Pen as a podcast and as someone to follow. Joanna Penn from the UK. She has a wealth of resources. Mentioned attending workshops and conferences. There's self-publishing conferences every year. Writer's Digest has conferences every year. I'm sure within your state, there's a writing writing entity where you can also tap into them, be a part of what they're doing, attend their conferences. Some of them are virtual and some of them are live and some of them are both. So those opportunities do exist. I would say start looking ahead. Don't wait till you're ready to do something. Look ahead at the beginning of the year or at the end of a year to see what's coming up so that you can start to plan accordingly to be a part of some events and opportunities during the year. The third thing I mentioned was taking online courses. There are a lot of courses that are very economical, very inexpensive that you can tap into. And I mentioned Coursera, Udemy, and Skillshare as a few of those. I've taken quite a few things with Udemy only because I remember Udemy from way back in the day when I used to work for the government. And that was one of the entities that we often took courses through. So they have a plethora of courses that you can take that are not cheap, but because they offer so many of them, you often can get them at a very economical price. The fourth thing I mentioned was joining some type of writing group and forums. As we've heard many times, you're a part of this, but be a part of a few other things as well. There are some great publishing groups on Facebook that you can tap into, cost you nothing to be a part of it. And the fifth thing that I mentioned was subscribing to newsletters. So those were the 5 things that I wanted to share today about how to engage in continuous learning. If anyone wants to share anything about continuous learning, you are free to open your mic if you like. If you have any questions, you are free to ask them. If you want to come on screen, I'm going to change the look of my screen to gallery. There we go. Hi, everyone. Y'all see I'm in my car. I was traveling yesterday and it didn't happen, so I had to travel today. And I did not want to miss this opportunity to come on. So I stopped my car at Panera, backed it up with some trees behind me, and I can see everybody passing by. And I am here today. Feel free to share if you like or ask questions. That's what I'm here for. Miss Anna, I know that you engage in a lot of continuous learning. Tell us the importance, and also you are a well-renowned educator who's received great accolades through the years. So I know in academia you are well known. Share with us the importance of continuous learning.
Thank you so for having me and inviting me to share. One of the major reasons for continuous learning is learning. There is always something different being offered. And for those of us who coach or mentor other writers, knowing what's out there and hearing about it from those who are participating in it gives us confidence to recommend it. But because many of the resources are economical, if I can recommend projects that I've been a part of and people see that they are empowering me to do my job better, that increases their confidence in doing it. And one of the things that I've been working on this week is what does it take to transmigrate a novel or any kind of publication into a movie? Some of you know that because of online streaming, independent movie companies are looking for more narrow-ranged movies to make that don't depend on national and international audiences. And so I've been looking at the Robertson story, but I've been working with a former student. One of my students lives in Kauai, Hawaii, and she and her husband are writers. Her husband does write screenwriting, and we have been exchanging what we have picked up on some of the online learning platforms to see what does it take. And probably the main thing that I picked up this week from my own writing is that people are looking for books with strong female leads. And I've been saying, well, would my main character be considered a strong female, or is she someone who is being manipulated by the other characters in the book? And so online learning, continued education helps us to consider what we're offering, but it also may mean we may do some rewriting, particularly if it is a fiction work where we have a little more control over how the characters turn out. But it also may be in those of you who write devotionals. Are you writing the devotional because you are assuming that the readers are not strong and are weak characters? They may not provide the audience that would be best for your book. On the other hand, one of the resources talked about the fact that we look at how strong and how weak our piece is and what our books contain. And sometimes you can get an audience by telling them, this book does not contain A, B, C, and D. So you can read this book because it does contain D, E, F, and G. And so that's what online learning has been helping me do, become a better writer, become a better coach, but know that I need to keep learning. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Miss Anna. As I say, learning is a continuous effort for us. And I've not done as much this year as I had planned to do. It was a conference that I wanted to be a part of. Actually, it was a writing retreat. But by the time I saw the information, it was too late. That's why I mentioned looking ahead to find out who's offering what early enough in the year so that you can plan accordingly. Because this one that I am very interested in, it is a 14-day retreat. So I have to do a lot of planning for myself to be able to go to a 14-day retreat where I have to put other things on hold so that I can totally commit to the requirements of that retreat. Has anyone been a part of anything this year? We're already in June. This is half the year gone. What type of writing conferences or workshops, or even maybe engagements where you were a presenter? Now, I presented this year, but it wasn't because of my book. I would have to look, and it was in March, so it won't be again until next March. But if I remember correctly, it's on a Indian reservation campus, and they're offering scholarships for people. They do charge, but they have a whole lot of scholarships, they say. So even if you want to go, you may wind up not having to pay, but you may have to commit to certain things to be you know, if you're covered, then there's certain requirements that you will have to meet. If you pay, you attend, but you don't have to meet these other requirements. But I think I looked at the requirements last year and they were all doable. And they really wanted people to, they wanted you to be willing to write outside of your genre. Meaning you already write a certain way. Let's tap into an area that you are unfamiliar with so we can stretch you there for these 2 weeks. So I thought that was very, very good because I've not written the novel yet. And hopefully I will write a novella or something at some point, but I wouldn't do it at this point because I don't think that I have the insight for it. But I think after I attend this workshop, it might give me the push that I need.
You asked what we are working on now or what we're presenting. Some of you are familiar with the American University in Washington, D.C. They offer a program called OLLI, Osher Lifeline Learning Institute. And that's what I've been doing this month. On Mondays for 90 minutes, I meet with students. We look at pictures and write poetry or flash fiction. And that's been an insightful experience for me because there's time online during the class to write. And I try to write with them pieces that I've not written before. And that's a learning experience for me as I teach. But those of you who are looking for economical ways to expand your learning, maybe from home, consider the OLLI programs. They have them across the nation, but the ones at the American University are open to anyone. And their fall program is $300 a semester for classes that you want to teach. And they are not for credit. And so there are no exams that one has to take, but they are being taught by professionals or those who are very knowledgeable, have experience in their area. So sometimes just taking on the challenge of presenting a workshop is a learning experience because we have to do that same thing. Who is our audience? What do they know already? What do I need to know in order to get across to them what they can use and for their reason for coming? So keep learning, and you'll learn that there's more to learn.
Listen to that. Keep learning, and you will learn that there is more to learn. This is so true. Soon as you think you got it, it's like, oh, there's more, there's more, there's more. But that's how we develop, and that is how we grow. Miss Anna, that sounds like a very interesting and exciting program. So everybody consider that as an option and opportunity as well. Thank you, Miss Anna. Any questions or comments from anyone today? Hi, Melvise, Nicole.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Dr. Annette West. Good morning, Dr. Anna. Good morning, everyone. Oh, Kimberly, so many familiar faces and names. I'm so glad I was able to join, and I'm glad that now I understand the schedule, that it's every Thursday. I just wanted to kind of chime in because I agree wholeheartedly with learning, right? It's a lifestyle. You never stop learning. And so that's why we participate in the groups that you offer. This platform is a way to connect with other writers, to stay abreast of what's happening in the writing world, in the publishing world. So that's awesome. I wanted to say that, and you may have mentioned this, attending retreats is a great opportunity. So I did have an opportunity to attend a retreat in March, and it was great because I got to meet not only other writers from around the world, but also artists, and just getting into the artist mindset. So artists who are working with different mediums, sculptors, working with oil, paint, and acrylic, it inspired me to focus on my writing. And so it fed my writing. So if you have an opportunity to attend a retreat, some retreats are free, some aren't, but there are scholarships available. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that I'm grateful that I was a part of the recent devotional. So very thankful. Thank you both, Dr. Annette West, Dr. Anna. And my books are selling, and I need to order more. So the other thing is I say, if you can be a part of a devotional, an anthology, submit your work. Getting it out of your head onto paper, even though it may be a struggle, once you're finished, you'll be glad that you did, and the impact you'll have. Because I think that we're not just writing for ourselves, we're writing for others. We really are. So when we say, okay, I can't do it, or there's something blocking us, remember that we're being called to a higher purpose, and we may need to take a break for a moment, but try to get back to it.
Yeah, that is good, Nicole. Thank you so much. And yes, I appreciate you being a part of our Centered in Christ Power, Praise, Prayer, and Worship, the 4th volume in a series, the Centered in Christ series. So if you don't have that, make sure that you do. I see Diana Griffin here. She has been in the second, third, and fourth of those devotions. Miss Ann, I think you participated in two, I think, or one. This one.
Two is centered in
Two.
Christ, but also in the marriage booklet.
Okay. So
Uh-huh.
you were in the initial Centered in Christ, which is the orange book.
Mhm.
And this is the first of the series that you were in. So Centered in Christ series actually started with a Centered in Christ anthology, where I had 8 authors and a Miss Anna as the poet. She wrote poetry to align with being centered in Christ. And in this fourth devotional that she is a part of, she actually gave quite a bit of poetry as well to align with this particular topic theme that we had for the book. So the book is centered in Christ, but the series title changes for each time that we've done it. I don't know if we'll do another. We're just going to kind of go with the flow, but the 4 that we have done and plus the anthology have been very successful. I think when we did the anthology, I remember correctly, Miss Anna, that was the one where we did books for the prison, the women's prison.
Yes, yes, we were able to get books into prisons, mainly for women who are incarcerated, and some of them are still in touch with us because we were able to share Centered in Christ, and because it is written in short snippets. One of the incarcerated women was saying the other day, she started sharing with someone who was on kitchen duty with her. And they're finished with the kitchen duty, but they're continuing to meet and utilize the resources. So we never know who will be blessed by our work, but we know that when we are a blessing, we will continue to be blessed. So share your work, share your stories, but continue to do it to the highest quality that you can. So when people see it, they'll say, "This is well done," and not distracted by little small issues.
Yeah, I have actually been thinking about the Centered in Christ series recently. And I was thinking, oh, I need to reach out to and get a list of all the women's prisons and send a series to each of those chaplains.
Mhm.
I think
You
that would
know,
be.
one thing that some of you may or may not know, incarcerated persons cannot receive direct mailings from another individual. They can only receive books that are sent from the publisher or the printer. And that uh, makes it a little more challenging for us. But if someone can come up with a mailing list, and for that time, I just did what we call a crowdfunding. I just put a note out on Facebook that I'd like to send packets of 10 books to 10 prisons. And the money came in. So I was able to order the books from Dr. West, and she could have them mailed directly. But that is sometimes an overlooked ministry field, particularly for those of us who write for and about women. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Yes, yes, Miss Anna. So definitely something that I want to do again to get some resources out. You know, the most important, just a second, let me just say this.
Sorry.
The most important thing for me is it's not the money, it is the ability to share what God has given to me. I think it is very important that my priority be getting the content in the hands and before the eyes of others. I think that's my purpose. And was that Mel Beast that was going to speak?
Yes, this is Melvise. I just want to know what department in the prisons do you ship the books to? Like, do you have to
Chaplains.
contact someone first, or how does that work?
It would be the chaplaincy department.
Well, that's for if it's a Christian book, right? But what if it's just like a fiction book? We just want it to be in the prison library.
Well, first of all, you can't send it. So you could go to Amazon and order it and it can go there, but you can't send it directly. So if you have an entity where you can, if you're in Ingram Sparks and you can get a book sent directly through Ingram Sparks to the prison, you could do that, but you just can't send it personally. I know because I send books to other prisons, not women's prisons, but there's other prisons where I'm connected to some prisoners, and I have sent them books through Amazon as well as through my company.
So it has to come directly through from the distributor. What if
You could be the distributor.
I can send it with the return label as Written Words
No,
Publishing.
No,
no, no,
No.
it has to go from the publishing company. And the way to get the names, sometimes you can just go online and just do a search for women's prisons. The way we did it was went online and got names of prisons in our state and in the state where I've lived before. So if you would like to do this, go online, search for prison and then the chaplains. And it really is best to contact the chaplain, him or herself, because some chaplains are on site, some work at different prisons,
right.
and they would need to know that the books have arrived so that
Okay.
they will go to pick them up. It takes a little more time, but I think it's worth the effort because the women or men who receive them need them. And usually sometimes the prison chaplain will donate them to the library. So you can decide who you would like the recipient to be and where you would like them to be able to pick it up. Some chaplains deliver them personally to prisoners that they are counseling. Some deliver to the library where anyone can take it out and borrow it and return it. So from the list of books that you publish or some of your authors publish, you can consider the best source for that. But having a specific name of a chaplain will be more assured that your book will get to the people and not just to the mailbox room.
And even if it gets to the mailbox room, at least your chaplain is aware that it's going to be there and they will go there to be looking for it. So that is very true, Miss Anna. But Melvise, you are a publishing company. So because you're Written Word Publishing, you are able to send from your publishing company. So that's no problem. But I do agree with Miss Anna, getting someone's name and making it personal is very important, getting those chaplains' names. But it's easily doable. It takes a little effort, but it's easily do it. And it's well worth it. I mean, you just feel so great when you have just blessed somebody with the resources that God have given to you.
That may be
Okay.
something that we can share here. One of the times we were coming up with a list, we took the names of the states, divided them up into alphabetically, and asked each person to do a research, find 10 names in your state, and come up with a common mailing list. So if that's something that you would like to do, Melvise, contact me and anyone else, and maybe that could be something that we can share with those who are interested in that way of ministry. So contact me if you're interested. We can come up with a list that we can utilize together.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I like that, Miss Anna. So before most of you came in, and I'll just throw this out again because Nicole actually mentioned some of the things and she said, I don't know, you might have talked about these things. So I thought I would share the list again. So what I was speaking of at the beginning was how to engage in continuous learning. That learning is ever evolving, that it's a cycle of life. We must continue to learn. And I gave 5 areas where we could engage to help us in this effort. And the first one that I gave was reading industry blogs and books. And I mentioned Jane Friedman, The Creative Pen, and Read the Blog. Now there's a whole lot more, but this was just a few of them. Now, The Creative Pen, I would highly recommend that one. Her name is Joanna Penn. I don't know if you've heard of her or come across her content, but she is in the UK. She has a massive number of books that she has out. I believe I have about 4 of her books, and they have been dynamic resources, dynamic tools to help in my writing process. The second thing that I said was attend workshops and conferences. That it's important that we participate in workshops, webinars, conferences that are related to writing and publishing. The Writer's Digest has a conference every year. There's a self-publishing has a conference every year, and there are a lot of other places that have conferences every year. I think Melvise, if I'm not mistaken, and you had a list of conferences, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, she said there's a calendar of upcoming literary events. So yeah, so Melvise does that as well. Melvise is really good with pulling resources together. The third thing I said was consider taking an online course. A course doesn't have to be accredited for it to be viable and good. A course doesn't have to be costly and absorbent cost for it to still be good. So just be mindful of that. I mentioned Coursera, Udemy, and Skillshare. I know Udemy very well because I've taken quite a few of their things through the years. I mean, all kind of things, holistic wellness, herbalization, you name it. I have taken, when they say well-rounded, I feel like I'm well-rounded. But I've taken a lot of their courses. And they're not cheap courses, and they are very well detailed and in-depth courses, but they have reasonable prices on them because it's to the world and they sell it in masses. So then they can afford to sell it at a lower cost. The fourth thing that I said was join writing groups and forums. This Thursday morning is a forum that you are in right here. We help each other. I bring in content. Others bring in content. You get to ask questions. You get to share as well. And that's what this is about. But there are others as well. I mentioned that on Facebook, there are some very good writing groups. You don't need to be in every writing group. Only be in the ones that you know that you will engage in. We can't be a part of everything. So if you got 500 groups that you're in, ask yourself, am I really vested in any of those? Delete many of them, and then just decide, I'm going to focus on these 2 or 3. And then the fifth thing that I said was subscribe to newsletters. Every industry, most companies have some type of newsletter that they put out. They give snippets of information. Sometimes they even give articles and detailed information. So it's very important that we read these because it helps us to keep up with what the trends are going on at the time, what new tips and opportunities are available for us as well. So those were the 5 things that I mentioned. Read industry blogs and books, attend workshops and conferences, take online courses, join writing groups and forums, and subscribe to newsletters.
In fact, it was from one of those newsletters that I got the idea of doing the movie script. And this particular group sent out several short worksheets that I was able to use to decide whether or not this is something I want to pursue. I learned that I'm not ready, but I learned that before I invested $1,000 into a 5-year program, because it takes about 5 years to convert a script, a novel, to a movie script, if you've never done it before. But using their free materials that came in the emails, I was able to learn that. I was so excited from the readings that Dr. West has invited me to do on some of her programs that I thought it was an easy jump from text of a novel to the screen of a movie, and it's not. And so being on these mailing lists, every mailing you get may not be useful, but the ones that are, you're there and you can get them. So good advice. You may not end up thinking you're as smart as you thought you were, but you can do it in private.
Thank you, Miss Anna. There you go. And Mel V said there's a calendar of upcoming literary events and she put her link. And then she said it's also a great writers group on Facebook, and she put the link for that as well if you are interested and want to check it out. I like the fact that she said there's no spam there. It's very well managed and it's very informative. That's what we want. We don't want a space where people are just allowing people to put any and everything on there, and most of it has nothing to do with writing and fit with the flow of what the room is supposed to be. So thank you, Melvise. We have about 5 minutes left. I think Dr. Carolyn Coleman came in. Hey, Dr. Carolyn, any other comments, questions, or anything for us today? Well, if we have nothing else for today, I want to thank everybody for coming in. I'll let you know that I appreciate you, and we'll be back next Thursday. We'll see what we'll be talking about then. But everybody have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.